Welcome to the SIP Certified Database tutorial for inspectors that are reviewing documentation for vineyards and wineries applying to be SIP certified. We are dedicated to protecting the people and the planet by supporting sustainable wine growing practices. The timeline for SIP certified runs from December 1st through November 30th of the following year. In May, our members will schedule a time to have their property inspected. These inspections should take place between June 1st and July 15th. Our inspectors' final reports are due by July 25th or 26th when it falls on a weekend. And on December 15th, applicants, which include vineyards and wineries, have a couple of other items that are due. This includes, for vineyards, pesticide use reporting and Chapter 14 nitrogen and water use. For wineries, they have to submit noise testing every 3 years. And then these final year-end inspections are due by January 4th of the following year. Please note that applicants that are submitting documentation after these deadlines are subject to a late penalty fee, and incomplete inspection reports are subject to a not eligible vote. For vineyards and wineries, they are primarily documenting practices that have happened between December 1st and November 30th, unless the standard specifies otherwise. A great example would be continuing education, which would say hours accrued in the last 12 months. So this would be from June to June. Again, these inspections should be taking place between June 1st and July 15th. So a lot of the documentation you'll be reviewing will look at practices from December 1st up until that summer. There's different types of inspections. The first being a full, which means that you'll be reviewing all of the standards and doing an on-site inspection. Anyone with a full inspection needs to have at least 75% of total points. So this includes meeting all requirements and at least half of the management enhancement points. Other types of inspections are documentation, on-site, and impromptu. Any property with a documentation inspection needs to answer all of the questions in the database marked with a D. A property with a documentation on-site needs to answer questions marked with D and D+O. An impromptu is the same thing as a documentation on-site, except that member won't know that they have an on-site inspection. So if you have been assigned the impromptu, you need to let that member know within 48 hours that you're going to be coming on-site. Inspections run in 3-year cycles, and the amount of time required does vary over the years. For a member that's brand new to the program that has a full documentation and on-site inspection, we're generally looking at about 8 hours. It could be 15 if there were a number of different properties involved, or if there's a lot of missing documentation. But we always do our best to encourage our members to be fully prepared with their documentation complete. If you find yourself looking at an inspection that's missing a lot of documentation, please let your client know and ask them to update the information. Subsequent cycles 2 and 3 are generally the documentation on-site or impromptu. These take between 1 to 4 hours. And then once a member is back in that full inspection, again, these are shorter the second time around. So it's about 4 to 6 hours. OnSite Protocol during the time of COVID, we want to make sure that we're touring property in separate vehicles, maintaining appropriate social distancing, wearing appropriate face coverings as needed, and then of course, reschedule the inspection if anybody is feeling under the weather. When it comes to verifying the standards that you're seeing in the database, make sure you provide clear, accurate, and concise inspection reports. Make comments on all of the requirements. Visually verify the standards that are marked documentation and on-site. Always request additional documentation when needed, and don't make any exceptions. Make sure we're following the intent of the standards. And then you can always contact me, Beth, if you're finding that an applicant is out of compliance. Now let's take a look at the database so you can see exactly how you will be reviewing documentation. So now I am logged in as an inspector. So this is what you'll see when you log in to see all of your clients. As you go through the summer inspections, what you'll pop up into is recent updates on this homepage. So it will list your client specifically here, and then also exactly what's been updated. So this gives you a really quick jump to recent work completed. If you want to look at all of your clients, just click on all certifications over here. So here you'll see the list of everyone that you are working with. So to begin doing an inspection, you would click on the name of the client. And then from here, you could click on any of these chapters, digging in to review how they've answered something. So for example, right here, this question is saying you have to provide tissue samples, and you can see they've uploaded a few different things. One of them is called tissue samples, and the others don't seem very relevant. So say they didn't have the tissue samples document here, or this was a wrong file. If that's the case, you would answer documented, okay, no, it was not. And you could type in a message about what it is that you need. If everything was okay, then your answer would be, yes, this has been documented correctly. And you, in this case, because it's a requirement, we'd like you to leave a note here that says tissue samples uploaded, or something to the effect of the documentation you've seen. And you just continue through this way with all of the questions, whether or not it was documented okay or not. And once you're done, make sure you scroll to the bottom of the page and always click Save Inspection or Save Inspection and Continue, which will move you on to the next chapter. Another handy feature in the database and for all of our members is this Management Company section. There's a lot of questions around business practices and human resources that are consistent across the board for a management company overseeing numerous vineyards or for a single owner that has multiple properties. So in this case, you will be inspecting that documentation just once, and it will apply those answers across all of the properties. So here you would click on Management Company A, SIP, and then you would follow the same suit that we just discussed. So I would look at Chapter 11 and jump into each of these different sections to review what they have submitted. And then of course you scroll all the way to the bottom and click Save and Continue. And if you have any questions at all throughout this whole process, just reach out to Beth at sipcertified.org. Thank you.